Great. Let me just hit that. Okay. Good evening, everybody. So during our check-in, we actually got some very interesting point that Fagi brought out is the analysis versus awareness. And yeah, this is one of the very, very fine lines. Although if we're going to look into it, we will see that, they're quite distinguished. Because what is analysis? Like, let's say, let's apply analysis. Let's say I'm getting angry. Analysis will ask question why. Why are you getting angry? What caused you anger? Right? What happened? What he said? What she said? What were the circumstances? Have I eaten breakfast? Did I sleep enough? Right? These are the question of analysis. What caused? It's endless, right? It's interrogation, right? And what's the solution to it is that people think that by answering all these questions, this interrogation, we're actually going to get to the bottom of the situation, but it's not true. Because analysis works with a conscious mind. Analysis is a conscious process, right? So when we open door to analysis, when we start using that tool, right? We actually, in a way, in high beta, we need to be very, very conscious, and we need to make connections. Oh, maybe you didn't sleep enough. Maybe you did not drink your vitamins. Maybe you didn't do this. Maybe you didn't do that, right? Maybe if you would said this before that, it would happen this way or that way. Yeah, which is actually has its place and time. But when we want to change, we really don't want to analyze, because analysis does not cause us to change. Why? Because usually when people mess up, they don't mess up consciously. There is no person on earth who is going to be walking down the street and say, okay, now I want to get angry. Now I want to beat up somebody because I did not eat breakfast. It doesn't happen that way. Usually these are automatic reactions that a person feels, that he's not even himself aware of it, that he's doing it. Okay, and he gets so caught up in this that when he realizes it's already too late, he have done things, he have said things that, he's embarrassed for, but he can't do anything about it because he just ran a program. There is something in his mind, there are triggers that he can't even know what it is. Yeah, it's like a program. Yeah, you're not aware. How many times we've said and we have done things that we'll later on regret it, right? Not because we didn't analyze, not because of that at all, because it went zooming fast. The execution of an action, a word, which is also masa katan, right? It's a small action, came out with so fast that we were not aware of it. Right? And therefore, when we want to change, not analysis is going to change us. It's awareness is going to change us. Is that when we start feeling what we feel, we just ask ourselves a question, what is it? Not why. What is it? The analysis asks question why. Awareness asks question what. What is it I am experiencing? By the time you feel you're not yourself, there's emotions rising up from your heart. You have chills, you feel hot. That's why we need to work with our bodies, because our bodies tells us how we feel. Safe, not safe, what's going on, right? So we ask question, what? What is it happening with me? And then the answer will be anger, frustration, humiliation, embarrassment. You will get the answer. Your body will tell you what is it experiencing. So now that awareness alone already shifting us from the program. Now we know that we are angry. We are aware of it. That's more of a das perspective. Now we know, we're aware of it. Okay. And we can observe, we could kick in our frontal lobes and we can observe what kind of thoughts we are feeling, we are experiencing right now. What kind of feelings are aligned with what are the body sensations, right? It kicks in curiosity. Interesting. What is happening with me? How am I reacting? Looking at ourselves from the side perspective, right? Like, oh, look at Mila. She is about to get into argument with somebody because she feels defensive. You understand what I mean? You could observe yourself from the side as opposed to moving in and playing the program. You could zoom out. This is the ability of the frontal lobe, and everybody has that, okay? Unless people are severely handicapped, everybody has our frontal lobes right here. So we could zoom out. It's like our cameras, zoom in, zoom out, right? That's exactly where they're located. By the way, cameras are replica of human eye. The more expensive cameras, right? People ask like why people pay $25,000 for a camera. Because the higher quality of the camera, the higher the replica of zooming in and zooming out, and they're an aperture, and there are so many features that good cameras have that cheap cameras don't have. That's why some photos, you look at them and you're like, oh my gosh, why is it? Because the look and everything was shot exactly like your eye would shot it, right? Because, and some cameras, there would be very good pixels and all that, but it's flat, it's not interesting, and it will not be catchy to the eye. To the eye, it's just going to be a flat picture, because we don't see things in a flat, on the flat surfaces. We have, levels of focus, but we're not going to get sidetracked to that. Now, we understand what's the difference between analysis and awareness?
Yeah, thank you. So in other words, even though the tendency is like, why am I feeling angry? It's probably because my mother, blah, blah. It's sort of like, like the next step, you sort of jump, but you have to stop yourself and just say, what am I feeling right now?
Who cares? Exactly. Who cares where this feeling is coming from? I know people think that, okay, I'm going to blame my mother. I'm going to blame my father. I'm going to blame my grandmother.
You're triggering
but why are you, on the contrary, you're going to get even more frustrated. You are stirring the coals. You're adding oil to the fire. Now, not only are you going to beat up that person, you're also going to go and beat up yourself, and going to go beat up your parents, and you're going to be so mad, and it's just forget about it. But what's the goal? You're playing the program.
Because then you think, oh, I'll know for next time. Like this is, now that I know.
You will know. You will not know the next time, because until a person is aware of what's happening, he's going to continue playing the same tape over and over, over and over, over and over. It's not going to change.
Right. Mila, you've been successful on doing this, the diet that you've been on, the food plan. I shouldn't say a diet.
Thank God.
But
20 pounds down.
Okay, so people that are on, let's say people, we won't get to Mila, often do like an emotional eating track. They say, oh, why did I eat? And then they'll write, like one sentence, say, I ate at such and such. Why? I was bored. I was first. They try to make you aware of your emotional eating patterns. And I'm wondering, can sometimes...
But why we need to go there? You know what?
Oh, because it's not only for me. It's not only for eating. People are doing it now. Mostly, why am I getting not only for emotional eating, but why am I acting this way? Why am I kicking this? Why am I avoiding this? They're trying to.
How many people figure? How many people went through psychoanalysis? Did it help them? If yes,
no.
One second. If it would help them, then we wouldn't have the issues that we have now.
Yes.
So obviously the system does not work. I used to ask myself, why am I eating? Why am I noshing this? And it doesn't help. Why does not answer the question. You stop, you just become like, you freeze yourself. You just become, what is going on? Ask the question, what is going on? That's all. Not why. Who cares why? I couldn't care less why. How asking myself why will help me? It's not helping me. So I'm not going to ask why. I said, what is happening? Oh, happening 1, 2, 3. So then you take out one of the 4 tools, right? Breathe, change, stop. If this is something that's not working, you're getting stuck with it, there's also, you could sit up. If you have longer time, you could sit up for mental rehearsal right then and there in the middle of your office. It doesn't matter. You could do heart coherence exercise, right? That's already 5, right? And if you want to get handy, you could just do neurographics.
To do what? I'm sorry, what? What's
Yeah,
that?
neurographics. Yeah, neurographics. It's a type of art that you could actually rewire your brain patterns. That's what it originally was.
You taught this to us? I don't remember you teaching.
No, I did not teach neurographics.
Oh, okay,
no,
okay. So maybe I missed that one.
I was merciful. I did not want to overwhelm you guys. Yeah, but neurographics is an excellent, because in all these things you don't want to go why, because it's like, what? It's a stumbling stick. If you want to stumble, ask yourself why, how come, how to fix it, what to do next, create another plan. Who cares? Because we want to execute those plans. We're not going to be sitting down writing another chart and filling it out only for 3 days and then throwing it out. We've done this. It doesn't work. Right?
Excellent.
What you want to create is you want to create awareness. Okay, great.
So important. Thank you so much. No, I'm so happy because it's so geuludik. This is exactly what I need for Elul. This is like perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, because I don't know. The point is not to beat up yourself and ask yourself these questions. The true change comes from awareness. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so let's continue learning our Sicha. I'm going to share my screen. We almost done. Well, we're actually in a good middle of the Sicha, and I like it. So let's, before we start, it was a week ago, so I'm sure many things happened. Let's look into what we actually did learn, right? Let me move up a little bit. We have Zayin. So it's a Parshas Lech Lecha, right? And the Rebbe is introducing the idea of conquering Keni, Kinizi, and Kadmoni, which are the nation number 8, 9, and 10, which we need to conquer. And the Rebbe is connecting it to the Parshas Lech Lecha, because that's exactly during this Parsha, there was Bris Ben Abasarim, right? Happened. Bris Ben Abasarim, where Hashem promised to Avram Avinu that he's going to conquer, that his seeds, his nation, Bnei Israel, are going to conquer the land of 10 nations that Hashem is giving Avram Avinu, not the land of 7 nations, but actually the land of 10 nations. And the Rebbe is connecting with a parsha that the shleimus of this command to Avram Avinu for Lech Lecha is going to be done only after we conquer the 10 nations, meaning this command wasn't fully fulfilled yet. This prophecy, whatever we want to call it, that notification, whichever way you want to put it, right? That promise didn't actualize fully, although the Yidden have been living in Eretz Yisrael, but it haven't been fully there until the upcoming Gola, where we're going to be actually conquering the nation, these 10 nations. And the Rebbe actually connected it with Moichen, right? With Avodas Hamochin, because Moichen is 3, and the land of 7 nations is Midas. And the Rebbe said something very beautiful. He says, Midas Adan. Okay, very interesting. It's a really interesting thing to say that the Midas are done deal. It's a beautiful thing. And the Rebbe said also that the Midas are b'shleimus. Why the Midas are b'shleimus? Because a Jew is b'shleimus. That every Jew in our generation is b'shleimus Midas, which is, for me, was like, whew. So no anger, right? It's a delusion.
Can we think for a second?
Sure.
Right. So can we think just for a second? If the Rebbe is saying it, then it's true that the midas are completed. So I'm trying to just picture how I picture it in everyday life. I'm not going to say no, I don't see it. It's true then. So I'm looking. It's like the person who, takes the natural medicine. They say, my knee didn't get any better. My knee still hurts. Yeah, but did you notice that you have much clearer look in your eyes? And I never even thought about that, right? So in other words, if the Rebbe is telling us that the union of midas is completed, I kind of want to think where to look to see that. I shouldn't be looking at, oh, she said that and I got angry just like I did 10 years ago. That's clearly the wrong place to look, because that's going to make me think maybe the Rebbe is wrong, Chas v'sholom, and I'm not going there because it's not true. So therefore, I know there are places where that's not the place to look for the proof of what the Rebbe says, because that will just lead me back to nowhere. So I want to figure out where to look to experience that the tikkun of midas has been completed.
I think I'll tell you why. I feel, right. I'll tell you, how we could see it, if I could do that. I feel that I heard it actually from many people, where people would say, oh, changing is not like a switch. You just turn it on and off. That's was in old generations when the midas were not refined. People had to do like a whole ganze avoda in order to change one midah. The midas were the bad midas were more rooted into the heart, like people couldn't get rid of the things so easily. They had to go through like a whole cleansing process, which is we're going into another mimer, which is also mind-blowing, about Torahs Hachassidus, where the Rebbe says that even neshamas no longer need to cross the fiery river and to go through like a pillar of smoke, right? I don't know what that means. It doesn't explain. Probably in Kabbalah it describes all these things. But Rebbe says now, in order to move from one level to the next, you don't need to go through all this. Where in previous generations, it was like a whole situation. So now it's true, we experience it, but it's not an essential experience. It's like more superficial. It's more like on the external levels. We get angry, we get frustrated, we get screwed up, and whatever it is. It's like, do you know what I mean? Like, because as a nation, we're already healing. For me, it's like with homeopathy, funny, because when things start like growing on your skin, it's like a big celebration. Why is it? Because the disease, the issue that you're trying to heal, it's actually coming on a more external level. It's like we're going to connect it with a Sicha of Mוצayi, right? When it's only a little nega, that means it's much more inside. But when the whole body is covered with Mוצayi, that means it's a tahar, he could enter, It's really like, not logical, because truly the halacha should be different. If you have a little Mוצayi, tzaras, then, okay, you tome. So you have all over your body, you should be even more tome, right? That's like a human perspective on things. But the Rebbe says, no, halacha is that when his entire body is covered with tzaras, he's tahar. So why is it? It doesn't make sense. Well, it makes a lot of sense. When it's a little nega pops out, that shows how much more is inside. Once everything is out, he's pure, because a Jew, we're talking about pneumius, right? But pneumius is clean. Okay, he looks ugly. Okay, who cares how it looks? The pneumius is clean. I feel that in our generation, there is a lot of work have done previously, but pneumius, and the pneumius is clean. Okay, so there's a little dust off, and even that we finished. So I personally call it even a delusion. There's a delusion of us getting angry. That's what it seems that.
Right. So it's interesting. It's kind of like you're sort of, I think, implying everybody is like the miser in the story, that everybody believed he was intrinsically a miser, and really he wasn't intrinsically a miser. It's just he played a little game all his life to seem like he was a miser, but really he was actually he was supporting the whole town. But he had some reason why he presented himself in a certain way. It wasn't really who he was. He decided he's going to present himself all his life as a miser. That actually wasn't who he was.
What?
That's what.
Yeah.
So I like that. And the fact is, it's interesting because, you know, like with us, like you change your shade to like, whoa, you're a blonde all of a sudden. Oh, you're a redhead. It's like nothing. You could just
Exactly. It's not like, and I feel like what change we think we are going through, I think our hardest change of our generation is to give up the tools that we use in Golus and to acquire or even use the tools of Geula. I think this is where the change of our generation is. I no longer think in the same terms, in the same things. This is not the Geula approach, period. And I'm not embracing it. So
everybody's kind of, you really don't know who anybody is intrinsically, except.
But we know. What do you mean? Why you say we don't know?
Right.
That's exactly what we are.
Right.
And let's just admit it. Let's admit that this is who we are. This is our true identity. Okay, and whatever else is not shaykh to me. I'm not identifying myself with any of my chatoim. And look what the Rebbe says over here, right? In letter A, it says V'hapirush the chatanu ata, right? And the whole explanation that we sinned. Now, eina ele chisarin. It's not only that it's the chisarin. Chet miloshan chisarin. Chisarin means is like how do you translate chisarin? It's like a lack of something. It's a lack of skill. If I could add that word into this, it's not a sin. Do you know what I mean? Chet here doesn't even have a connotation of a sinful behavior. Chet is here, it's a lack. And I'm thinking, lack of what? I was thinking about the Sicha. Like, Rebbe, lack of what? I think lack of awareness. That's what we're lacking. This is our sin of our generation. It's a lack of awareness and insisting living and wearing the levushim of Golus. We're just insisting on it. And the rabbis already 30 years ago said, we are in a different reality. No, but we insist that things has to be done this way. This is how I will be changing. This is what I need to change. It's not a switch. I have to work with, get my bread through the sweat of my face. You understand what I mean? Like, we're insisting on suffering. It's just like, again, it's easier said than done. I just, whatever it is. But look what the Rebbe says. And the Rebbe says even more, that we are even doing beyond what we should be doing. And we've done that already. Is that realization that we are the only children of Hashem, and the way Hashem works and works with us, right, is like this fatherly love. Like, how many of us are really sitting and contemplating with Moida Ani, that here we go, my dearest father is like fully attuned with my needs and is giving me all this. And this is what the river of change is about, is knowing that Hashem wants to give it to us. It's like, okay, take. And we're like, no, we have to work for it. Do you understand what the issue happens here? It's like we're insisting. What?
I was going to say, it's sort of amazing. I remember when we first started, something that went through my mind was sometimes I'm not even aware of what I want to change or what I could change. You're saying lack of awareness. I agree, but sometimes it's just that Okay, at that point, I wasn't sure how to change either, but that's what we've been pulling us through. But sometimes we're not even aware of parts of us that need to change. What is my gullus mentality, and what is the gula mentality that I couldn't
It's how
change
we live
to?
our life. It's how we live our life.
So used to
through
it,
which door,
so,
exactly. Through which
so
door
hard to
that
know.
Hashem, yeah, for sure it's very hard. So
but
whenever we're going
to this at the beginning, yeah, I think what you told me in the beginning, if I remember correctly, you said Hashem, once Hashem sees that you're trying, Hashem will help you come to the next level and will lead you. Right? Isn't that what you said in the beginning? Like,
what we don't do that?
You said, don't worry. You don't have to figure it out.
What do you do? Imagine there's a guy who is about 70 years old who got his first child, okay? And all his preoccupation, he doesn't go to work. He's a millionaire, billionaire, trillionaire, okay? He doesn't go to work. He doesn't do anything. All what he does is watches his son day and night, okay? He's the only thing what he wants to do in his life. Okay, and now this little child is crawling and he picks up his small hands like this, right? He wants his father to pick up. What do you think his father is going to do?
Pick him up right away.
Exactly. Why not?
Mm-hmm. This is Hashem.
Wouldn't exactly? Hashem is like, I mean, we went through this, right? Perek Mem Aleph Tanya.
Yes.
The Rebbe says that it adds to Yirat Shamayim, right? And we all need to know it by heart. Do you know it by heart? I don't. I know partially because my kids study it, but I should learn it by heart.
Yes, I love that analogy. Thank you. So I don't have to worry.
It says over here, Bram tzarich liyos b'zichron samid, right? Gracious Avoda v'ikra b'shersha v'hu ki av sha'ayir ayi sholosh mesur mira. Okay, we're just gonna go right. What exactly he needs to be aware? Okay, here we go. Lefachet tzarich le'orer tchila hayira hativis ha'mesuteres b'lev kol Yisrael ela shelo limroid b'melech malchei amlochim hakadosh baruch hu shetehem his galus libo amoicha al kol panim dehainu lehis boinen b'machshavos al kol panim b'gdulas ein sof baruch hu malchus asher hi malchus kol olamim elyonim v'sachtoni v'yu memala kol olamim. Okay, v'yu, right? What a person should be misboinen on. V'yu memala kol almin v'sof kol almin, right? That he is the one who feels all the world, and he's the one that surrounds all the world. Right? Isn't it? It's me who is filling up the heavens and earth. And look at here what it says. Like there's two parts of this as boinus. One is our awareness, who is Hashem. Right? Hashem is the one who all those beautiful things, right? The gedula of Hashem, the greatness of Hashem, and what else? Umaniach ha'elyonim, and he puts away the elyonim, the upper worlds, vetachtoinim, and the tachtoinim, meaning Hashem is the one who's like doing all these amazing things, right? And nothing, even a wind doesn't blow by Hashem's consciously doing it, right? And everything what Hashem does is consciously, right? Once we start contemplating on that, we were like, whoa, he's a big shot, right? Once we become aware of his greatness, then there's another detail here, right? That we also have to become aware of the fact that the same Hashem is putting aside all the upper worlds and all the lower worlds, umeyached malchusay, right? And he unifies his malchus al Amo Yisrael bichlal, on the Jewish nation in general, va'olav bifrad, and on him in detail. So that's what it is. That's just what it is. That Hashem has nothing else to do now but unify with this Jew, which is me, you, and everybody else who is thinking these thoughts and doesn't even think these thoughts. It doesn't matter. Hashem literally puts away anything he's doing and just focuses on this person. This is a great and awesome feeling. Just think about it. And the Rebbe said we should know this part by heart. What's the reason for it? This is Yirat Shamayim. When we become aware of Hashem's attention to us, is there any room for misbehavior? No, right?
No, and anywhere for Daiga. No worry, knowing Hashem is with you.
Exactly. It's every single moment. Hashem lives the entire world and lives just for you, Fegi. It says in Tanya here, right here. I don't know how else to understand these words. Because a person must say, Bishvili nivra ha'olam. For me, the whole world was created. Can we just I don't know, I don't have brains to swallow this thoughts. But that's a very, very awesome feeling, meaning that every person should tell, for me, I'm the center of the world. Right? That's exactly what every 2-year-old feels, right? I teach, preschool. This cute little being, he thinks the wind blows for him and the snow falls for him. And everybody's arena's life is to make his life better. That's all, right? They're very egocentric. And, right, then when we have that realization of our importance, of our significance in the eyes of Hashem, then what happens? Vehu gam hu mekabel. And look what the Rebbe says. Vehu, and also him, also he accepts on himself malchusay, accepts on himself the malchus of Hashem, and also his own malchus, liyos melech alav, to be king over himself, right? Right? Then this is the beginning of the service of Hashem. I don't know, I hear this whole echo somewhere. I don't know why it's happening. Yeah, okay. So yeah. Okay, let's move on. So this line here is very, very interesting. In Hay, where is it? So we already have the state of Shleimus, and Rebbe says, Sheshlimusei ha'amitis, that his full Shleimus, he k'shleimus atzmus umahus. Isn't it? This is a great line here. That a true Shleimus of a Jew is like the Shleimus of the essence of God. That's whew. Why are we saying that? That Jew and Hashem are all one. Also in the idea of Shleimus. Right? This is a big, big, big idea. Right? One thing that it makes me when I'm starting contemplating on this, you really become fearless, right? And much more courageous. Anybody hears me? Yeah, we all good with connection? Just give me some sign that you're with me.
We hear you. We hear you.
Okay. Amazing. So let's move on. We are by Zayid. So this is the idea where the Rebbe left us, right? With Avodas Hamochin, and that's Avodas Hamochin is a person needs to do bifnei atzma on its own, no strings attached to your midas. Why is it? Why should you have strings attached to your midas? You only have strings attached to your midas when there's something wrong with you, but there's nothing wrong with you, right? So why we need to do Avodas Hamochin? Avodas Hamochin is to know God, because it seems that we lack that awareness. That awareness will come only through learning who God is. Yeah, does that make sense? So now we no longer metaken anything. We don't do tikkun. Tikkun is over. Right? So what do? We become aware. We build our awareness of who we are, of who Hashem is. And the deeper we go into it, the deeper it will reflect in our heart that awareness as well. Okay, let's go. Right? So now when we say like, okay, do this like lofty Avodas Hamochin, whatever that would mean, let's look at what practically this means. Right? Yeshnam kama drushim b'Torahs Hachassidus, right? There are few explanations in Hasidus shebahem nidbaru davka inyanim amukim depnimis haTorah, that through them and in them specifically is explained the inner dimensions of the Torah, which is connected with Avodas Hamochin. Bifnei atzma, meaning there's Avodas Hamochin bifnei atzma. Now, there's 3 stages, and this is very important, because when I talk to people, many people have no idea about this Sicha, or maybe they don't want to know about that Sicha. But interestingly, there is like this ignorance, and there's no other word for that, and that there are 3 stages. There's Avodas Hamides, when a person exerts himself in correcting his mides. Then there's a stage when, Chabad came. Chabad is Moichin, right? Chochma Bina Das. And that Avodas Hamochin was in order to be mitaken, the mides. And now the 3rd stage, that there's nothing to do with mides. There's no strings attached. I'm only learning just to know God. That's it. That's my only sole purpose. Right? And as Rambam says, that it's a mitzvah to know God. And Rebbe says, and Rambam says that, if I'm not mistaken, quoting the, 1 second, I'll actually, give you the direct quote about what the Rambam says. It's actually brought down by Mitteler Rebbe. Rambam says in Hilchos Yesod Torah, right? The halachas of the foundation of the Torah, right? Perek Aleph, halacha Aleph, meaning all the way in the beginning, meaning this is beginning of all the beginnings. It's like a foundation. So the Yesod is ba'amud hachachmos, that this is foundation of all foundations, and this is the pillar of all wisdom. Leida sheyesh sham Eloka, to know that there's a God in the world. V'hu mamtzi kol nimtza, and He is the one who creates or makes things happen in the world, everything. Ubahalacha zayin, and in the 7th halacha, Eloka ze echad, this God is one. Who? Okay, v'yidias davar zeh, and the knowledge of this thing, to become aware, right? That there's Hashem in the world, and He makes things happen. Who mitzvahs aseh, is the positive commandment that says Shema Yisrael. So if anybody wants to know what Shema Yisrael is all about, that out of all the passages in the Torah, before passing away, a person should say Shema Yisrael. A person should say 3 times a day Shema Yisrael, 2 times a day, and then, in the morning, there's a partially, and then in Shacharis, and then Ma'ariv, and then Kriyat Shema Lamita. We feel as Yidden that there's an obsession about Shema Yisrael, right? It's like the prayer, more than anything else. It's even more important than Amidah, right? You just say Shema Yisrael, like a disaster happens, something happens. Yidden are like throughout all generations, we just say Shema Yisrael. This is the Yisodas, because this is the mitzvah, knowing that there's a God in the world, and nothing could stand without that awareness. There is no point of doing Torah if you don't have that awareness of who gave us the Torah, why He gave us the Torah, and what's the purpose of it. right? And that's what Yuvanim have been fighting about. They had no idea. They couldn't care less how many candles we light, if we eat latkes, whatever we do, whatever we don't do. That was not the fight. The fight is the Noisen HaTorah, right? They were fighting who gave it to us. So they were fighting this exact idea about God. And, we're not going to go into this whole lengthy explanation. And now we're finally here, right? And we should be happy that now it's time actually to do the third stage, which is Avodas Hamochin Bifnei Atzma. So there are 3 stages, and the Rebbe is encouraging us. It says, no, now it's only that. Okay, so now, in the Zion, the Rebbe is saying that there are few places, many places, it doesn't matter, it's not in a quantity, but there are specific places where it talks about Avodas Hamochin Bifnei Atzma. And where is it? Because we want to derive from all this Sicha not a big wow, although it's a beautiful thing because it inspires us from within. And for a moment, we think and we feel that connection that we have with Hashem, which is awesome and beautiful. But we want to actually have a practical application. What is the practical application? The Rebbe says very clearly that they are written bifrat, and specifically the places where I talk about Avodas Hamochin, for the sake of Avodas Hamochin, which is knowing God, is Bedrushe Admar and Mוצאי, in the explanations of the Mitteler Rebbe. Now, this Sicha is in Tafshin on base, okay? And nobody could argue that this is the last year of Sichas that the Rebbe gave us before this concealment. Now, B'drush Admar Mוצאי, shekama mehem, that few of them nitpisu dafka la'achreina. So the Rebbe connects this beautiful thing, that the fact that the Mitteler Rebbe's work have been so-called hidden all this time, and they lately have been published.
I didn't understand that.
I'm sorry. Even my phone doesn't understand that. Okay, so they were published lately was because of this, because there's a need. It's very interesting how the Rebbe brings out the idea that nothing happens in vain. The fact that the Mitteler Rebbe's work have been sitting on, only in manuscripts, was a reason for it. Now it's time to learn it. You see, and many people it really one of those things, if you really want to trigger me into something, is no, it's a Mitteler Rebbe, it was a long time ago. Why we have to study Mitteler Rebbe and all that argument, which is, I feel, is one of those bad taste arguments to ever make. Is Rebbe says here clearly, the fact that the Mitteler Rebbe's work have been published la'achreina, that's the indication that this is what we need to be doing now. It's amazing how, people could actually, resist that. Anyway, what's the idea of the Mitteler Rebbe? The idea of the Mitteler Rebbe is the width of the river, right? It's a beautiful, nice, wide river. The way the Mitteler Rebbe talks, and the explanations, it's lengthy, wide, broad explanations. The Torahs Hachassidus, of the Torahs of Hasidus, right? When we compare his work with the Alter Rebbe, but kasher im shleimus derchavas anar, right? And it's also connected with the completion of this, the widening of the river, begeula mitis v'ashleima, right? What does this mean? That specifically in the geula, that's where the width is. Because right now we are in this tzimtzum. Tzimtzum is this narrowness of perception, right? The Rebbe says, no, with true and complete geula, that's where the width is. That's where the true width is, right? She'az tia rechaves amitis ugvohes ve'omik amitim, because then the true wideness and the true height and the true depth. In all the ideas, that's when we actually going to see things. Because right now, our perception by most people is like this external of the most external of the most external. Right? This is when we're really going to go into things. This is like the most delicious part of the Geula is that the excitement of understanding deeper reality, which is God. Okay, and to make it more matim, right? For this, yesh lahasiv b'yeser says of yeser ois b'limud inyanim amukim the Torahs Hachassidus. People should add more and more the learning of the ideas, the deep ideas of Hasidus, and the word amukim is underlined. But often shel rechovos hanars, and it has to be done in the width of the river. Ubarchavos habur, and it should be with explicit explanations. V'havana v'hasaga, and understanding and grasping. V'akadosh baruch hu oizer u'matzliach, and the Rebbe says, you know why the Rebbe says that? And Hashem helps and makes people successful. Why is it? Because when you open up, you feel like your mind is going to fall out, right? When you start learning this, and you're like, oh my goodness, you exert yourself, and like, what's going on? Rebbe says, don't worry, don't be afraid of all these explanations. On the contrary, Hashem is helping you. Hashem is going to make you successful. Oizer matzliach al yidei hashtadlusay at kama shahadavar talui boy, that a person should do whatever he is possibly could do. And then who is pulling you through that river of change? Hashem. Who do you think is doing it? Who is giving that strength, that courage to go into all this? And look what the Rebbe says. And this is beautiful. That once you enter into that river of change, right, into this wide river of change, right? You know, there are some big rivers that you don't even see the other side, right? So then you are busy yourself with learning Hasidus, not simple Hasidus. You're learning deep Hasidus, right? What the Rebbe says? The Rebbe says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu oizer u'matzliach, that through the hishtadlus, till you end, right? You really push yourself as far as you could. That that learning will be because of the harchava begashmias as well. So isn't that amazing? That through learning Hasidus, a person could become rich, could have abundance, because everything right now has a direct reciprocity. You embrace abundance in learning deep ideas, Torahs Hachassidus, Hashem will provide you the abundance begashmias. Shal yidei tircha kala, that through a light tircha, right? Tircha is exertion. Be'etz ba'achas, just with one finger. Noisan la'kadosh baruch hu parnasasei begashmias b'harchava, that Hashem is going to give him his parnasa begashmias b'harchava. Meaning the person his true avoda is going to be baruchnias. His true avoda is going to be, but now ruchnias and gashmias is almost one, probably one. That's my understanding of what's going on, right? The Rebbe says that like before he had to go and work, and it was like who knows what, and you know, etc., etc. Now, no, just by moving one finger, he will be able to provide himself begashmias barchava. Right? And through that also is going to expand the moichin of the person. And Rebbe puts in brackets, and how much more so he's going to take care of the midas as well. Right? But that's not the agenda. The agenda is to know God. The agenda is to jump into the river of change and to expand and take it all in as much as we can. And then Hashem helps with the Gashmias Parnasa and also with expansion of our faculties, and also with expansion of our midas. Okay, and obviously, Rebbe says it's here to add that it should be done from the simcha and tuv levav. Okay, Hasidus, right? That a person should do it in Hasidus of Farbrengens, Shebahem Yidabru Odos Inyan Yudupnimis HaTorah, that during the Farbrengens, a person should be talking the ideas of the Pnimis HaTorah, the ideas of the Hasidus, Ba'ofen Shel Havana V'Hasoga B'Archova. That it should be done in understanding and grasping with abundance. Obviously, it includes specifically the idea of learning it with friends and doing, the pilpul of the students. That through these type of activities, when we just chat together as friends, and then we do all kinds of pilpulim of the students, we coming into this deeper grasp and understanding. Okay, now, and this is something very interesting in Ches v'kol zeh Ki'ara b'klalius haparsha, right? And all this is coming as a hayra, right? That we're learning from the general understanding of this pasuk. What is that? We're talking about, after all, in Parshas Lech Lecha, v'oifen de Lech Lecha, that it should be done in the way of Lech Lecha. What is the way of Lech Lecha? Yadua, it is known, shehahalicha, that the going, Lech Lecha is go, go. Truly, that's what it means. That this going comes from, from the shayrish of the word Lech, Halicha, right? That a true going happens Ki be'ilu shelo be'erech klal legabe hamam adumatzav akadam, right? And this is very important. How a person goes. When a person goes, he goes in a way that is incomparable to the way he was before. You just go, right? So Lech Lecha has that message that you learn, not that you just add into quantity of knowledge, but your quality is different. Right? You could learn a sicha, 1,000 times. It doesn't matter. But often of the Lech Lecha is that every time is a new thing for you. Right? You literally, Lech Lecha, you live what you knew before. Because if we're going to hold on to our perceptions of the past, we're never going to be able to open the door to a new perception, right? When we go up the stairs, there's an analogy given in many places in Hasidus that we let go of the previous step, right? And this is essential, because if I'm already crystallized as a personality, it's not interesting, it's boring. That's when Torah and everything starts becoming boring. It's the same thing again. But in reality, that shouldn't be like that. Because if I'm going to be changing, if I'm going to be embracing change, right, through changing myself, my personality, and how I'm going to be perceiving this piece of information is going to be totally new, right? But if I'm the same, then it's a known thing and it's boring. So not only, yeah.
to say, how can I really make it happen? I want to come, like you're saying, make it happen. And the part of me is burning inside, like, yes, when I learn something, I'm going to apply it to myself. I'm going to make a change. But I know, reality, I want it to happen. I want to come out, and I want to be a new person. And I just think, reality is, how am I going to do that? Like, maybe you could give us a tool. Maybe should I write down the chlotas? Maybe I should write down what did I learn?
No, it's how you learn.
How do I do it?
The Rebbe answers here. It's how you learn. The Rebbe just said, learn Hasidus. Learn Hasidus without jumping into a conclusion. That's how you learn. Because we're forcing ourselves to
apply it to myself.
You don't need to apply it to yourself. It will do its job. Hasidus is amazing.
I have a
job.
comment.
Amazing.
Wait, I have a comment. I have a comment on how
wait,
one
I just
can
want
do
to hear, Mila. Okay, I want to hear you. I want to hear. But Mila, what did you just finish? What you were
I'll tell you what it is. Okay, let's put it this way. Do you understand the concept of superfoods?
Yeah, they're the ones that are with the high polyphenols.
Yeah, exactly. There are some foods that when you eat, like you exactly just like swallow, it just has such an effect on your entire body that's like, forget about it. Like your body is like, having this ingredient will make it just flourish and operate on a totally different level. And then there are some foods you eat and, your body, digests it and right? Goes through the regular set of ishtalshalos in you with digestion. Now, do you think you consciously tell your body like, okay, I just ate a carrot and it's full of vitamin A. Now, break down this carrot and then send to all my cells vitamin A. I actually started seeing bed right now, so send to my eyes as well. No, there is no human being who has control over that, right? It's subconsciously done. My body knows what to do with food, right? You don't have to worry about it. You just need to give it right ingredients, correct?
Yes, but I thought the Rebbe was saying something else.
One second. So the Rebbe is saying here, we need to do Avodas Hamochin in the oifen of Lech Lecha. How can a person do Avodas Hamochin on the oifen of Lech Lecha? Very simple. You just do it. What do you mean do it? Go to Mitteler Rebbe's, open the Mamarim. That's what the Rebbe says. It's Hayra from Tapshin and Base. I'm not making it up. Study it. Right? Now, what will happen, the actual study of Hasidus, right? And I've done this, and I'm continue doing it. Okay? Now, when you learn these concepts, right? The actual learning of this concept will shape your mind. The same way how when I'm eating a superfood, my body knows exactly what to take and where to send in my body. I don't have to become even aware of that. I just need to buy the good food, right? And eat it at the right time. The same thing is with learning Hasidus. You don't need to do anything. For sure. Wow. Well, you think that you're going to be sitting doing Avoda. Rebbe said, no, it's done. You thinking I'm going to be now changing my midas. Rebbe said, no changing midas. It's done. You don't need to do anything. You just need to take this food and chew it and swallow it. That's all what needs to be done.
Oh, it's such a relief. Thank you. I was beating myself thinking, what am I going to get to the Master? Thank you so much.
Now, what people do like to do, right? They learn it like they're learning science. They learn it like they learn it, I don't know, Chumash and all other stuff, right? It doesn't work like that. Learning Hasidus, especially when you're learning it b'derech prat, that's what the Mitteler Rebbe is about, is learning it with details and explanations. You don't draw a conclusion. Because I'm drawing a conclusion based on my mental capacities. You don't draw a conclusion. Keep it open-ended. Go deeper into it. Don't worry, the conclusions will come automatically on their own at the right moment. You will change because change is inevitable. When we embrace Hasidus, there is no like learning and then application. No, It's like you learn all other science. Hasidus is very different because Hasidus is the knowledge of God. When we entertain in our mind the ideas of God, it will automatically change everything in our life. We don't need to press a second button, which is called Bechein. All what we need to do is to learn what needs to be learned.
But
and contemplate over
I have
it.
a comment. I have a
Sure.
comment on that. I may be wrong. So in addition to that, I feel like one has to, it would be better if one gives up the way we judge whether we have changed or not, because it
For sure.
is actually working against us. In other words, if the Rebbe says you learn Hasidus and it changes you, oh, I also have to see how it changes me. If the Rebbe said I changed, then I changed. I'm going to be the first one of all the millions of people who the Rebbe says you learn Hasidus and you change. No, I'm the exception, right? So I want to talk to myself that way and say, how is it possible that everybody else, supposedly, according to the Rebbe, has changed even if they don't realize it? I look at myself, no, I'm the exception. So number one, so if I give up the need to experience the change, then I can fly. That's where we get stuck, I think, of like, but I don't see it. Oh, knock it off with the seeing thing. You know what I'm saying? Of like, who says you have to see it? The Rebbe says it is. It is. So I'm just, now, maybe it's not like an appreciated, but that's the way I learned it.
So how does that, no, I don't have clarity with what you mean.
How is it helpful? And I'll say it in a couple of other ways. If you get a shekel that, like, no, I used to say, all I need in my bathroom is a mirror where I love the way I look in the mirror. In fact, that's why at shekel machers, I don't like their mirrors. Everything looks good there. You go outside, you look horrible on the street. So I always used to say, I need to buy a mirror that somehow the lighting in this mirror always makes me look good. Lemaisa, I could look horrible. I think I look good. That changes everything. I become a different person just because I'm happy the way I look. Lemaisa, everybody realizes, oh, she looks horrible. She should throw that shekel in the garbage. I don't know it. I look at that shekel. I love the way I look. It makes me luminous from inside. True? I don't know.
But you know what? I don't know about others because I believe differently. Because when a woman or anybody, for that matter, feels that they look the way they should be looking, they look beautiful, that will transpire to other people. They're going to pick up that energy.
You and I are saying the same thing. Anyway, I'm just saying, you and I are saying the same thing. If I think I'm doing fine, I will have an inner light that will make me get better and better. So when the Rebbe says to me, you're doing great. So I think, I don't see that I'm doing great at all. The Rebbe thinks I'm doing great. So that if I believe him, then it creates in me an inner light that actually makes me get better and better. If I'm always picking at, but I said this and I felt this and I thought this and I did the old way, which is looking at all the things I did wrong and all the things that I felt wrong. So when we do that, I'm very good at that too. But it's an old Avoda. It's an archaic Avoda. But most of us do it. I do it. So when I look at what I did wrong and how I learned and all that other stuff, it makes me darker and darker. When I believe the Rebbe that says I'm doing really well, I have a different Rebbe than other people have. A lot of people have a Rebbe who is always telling them they're not good enough. I don't have that Rebbe. I don't know. My Rebbe.
I don't have that either.
Yeah, no, they are. It's the inner voice. It's nothing to do with the Rebbe. If they wouldn't be Hasidim, it would be somebody else.
It's a joke. It's a joke. But you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a joke. So the point is, yeah.
No, go ahead. Finish your point.
So I'm just saying, moving the standard, like the bullseye, you know. So you throw the dart, and then you make the bullseye around it, and it sounds crazy, but it's not so crazy, because in this generation, the Rebbe kind of says that, right?
Yeah, I think that. Yeah. But anyway, the Rebbe in the Sicha says very clearly what our Avoda should be. That's all.
Can I just put a little something in? I just came in. My name is Sylvia, by the way. I learned from Rabbi Paltiel. I've learned it from Saratova also, that if I want to learn something new, take something in, you probably said this before I came on, but I have to empty myself of everything else. If I start referring back, oh, I can connect to this point, to that point that I learned before, it's not going to help any because I'm learning something new. It's a new chachma, it's a new framework. So I have to let go, like the rabbi who let go of the entire, what was it, Talmud Yerushalayim to learn Talmud Bavli or vice versa. You want to learn something new. Empty yourself. Create a vessel to receive the light. And I think that's the very beginning.
Yeah, 100%.
And then you can go on from there.
Beautiful. That's exactly in the way of Lech Lecha. And the way of Lech Lecha is that when we actually able to perceive things from a new angle. Now, without using the same old tools that we have for the perception. Now, that doesn't mean that, we completely become empty of a knowledge that we have. That's, first of all, impossible, right? If we acquired a certain knowledge, we can't forget it. We're not referring to knowledge that we know. We're referring to tools by which we interpret information. So these tools we want to change because we want to get better at it. We want to get a higher awareness. And if we're going to continue using the same tools, we won't be able to get where we want to get. So here is to be open and ask Hashem, okay, now I'm ready to acquire new tools, to use it. So give it to me. That's all. And the Rebbe says over here in the Sikha that for sure Hashem is going to help you. Because Hashem has nothing else to do but to focus on that Jew that wants to know him. Okay, let's go. Okay, move on, and from this is understood that when we read in the Torah, the Parsha Lech Lecha, mudgesh hatzivui ve'anitinas koyach la'avoda ba'ofen shel halicha amitis. That when we read the Parsha Lech Lecha, it is intensified, this tzivui, right? And also giving of the power in the avoda, which is done in a true walking, in a true halicha. Right? That it's not comparable to the previous state of being. It's a totally new state of being. How do we know? That when we read this in the Torah, that creates that reality. Because why is it? Why is it in Torah and not because this one said and that one said? Well, very simply. Because the Torah is a blueprint of creation. Whenever things are read in the Torah, that's reality opens up for us. And that's why we continue reading it every single year, right? We should have been just read it once and put it on a shelf and case closed. Why we continue reading it? Because we continue bringing down that reality over and over and deeper into this world. So we create these things in the world. That's how we create things. Through reading of the Torah. And what is it understood that when we read in the Torah, okay, right, this and more, right, also, that in the continuation of the week, we read Lech Lecha kama pa'amim. We read Lech Lecha a few times, right? We read it on Sheni, Chamishi, and then on Shabbos. Right, and also we read the previous Shabbos also, so 4 times. Right, the Mincha Shabbos Parshas Noach, we read Lech Lecha in the Mincha of the Parshas Shabbos Parshas Noach. B'Yom Sheni in the second, meaning on Monday and on Thursday, and also on Shabbos. Right. When we read the entire Parsha, Muban, it is understood Shahakriya de Lech Lecha, that also the reading of the Lech Lecha. Why we need to read 4 times that week. Pamashniya, that when we read the Lech Lecha the second time, he tziva v'netinas koach la'alicha be'ein erech gam b'yachas la'alicha kriya Lech Lecha b'pam harishona v'chein hala. So Rebbe says something very cute. That the fact that we read the second time Lech Lecha that week, that Lech Lecha, it's also done in a way that is incomparable to the Lech Lecha that we read the first time, etc. And that's how it is all the time. Meaning that this year, Be'ezus Hashem, when we're going to come to Parshas Lech Lecha, and we're also going to read it 4 times, that's going to be incomparable to the previous year. And when we're going to read in Shabbos Parshas Noach Mincha time, when we're going to read it, Yom Sheni is going to be incomparable to, so it's a continuous thing. It's basically breaking the habit of being ourselves. That's what Lech Lecha is. Because there is no such a thing as living out of habit. Right? We cannot, that's not living. That's being in a program. What we want to do is that we want to live a conscious life. And that conscious life is breaking through that boundary all the time. Just what you just created right here, right now, it's a very nice and just like makes it this perfect sense package. We break it again and we acquire a new. That's when we're constantly growing and constantly moving. There's no segmentation, because at that moment we actually connected to the wellspring, that constantly water flowing, and we constantly feeling that connection, and we are there. That's what makes the river moving. If God forbid there is this disconnect from this Mayan, which we know that in reality it never happens. In the spiritual world, there's no disconnect from the source, right? But in our mind, we could disconnect it. So what happens? The river rottens, that's it. It doesn't have any renewity in it. So you could stay there maybe for a couple of months, but then, that water just gets spoiled, right? Because there's no renewal of that water. The Mayan provides that renewal. The Mayan provides that cleansing process. Okay, so therefore that breaking through something that we created, which looks perfect, amazing. Why I need to change? Because that's the process. And we could get into that comfort zone. So yeah, we're breaking through it. And it's not, because you see, when we think of breaking through it, that it has to be done through significant pain and suffering, that's not embracing the reality of Gilva. Because in the Maimer of Torahs Hachassidus, the Rebbe says, no, it's no longer, you don't need to suffer anymore. There's no longer going, crossing the river of fire and all that, and the pillar of smoke and all. Even the shamas, they don't need to go through this anymore. The change, it's just by changing the awareness. And until the shleimus, the completion of the Kriya of the Lech Lecha, B'Yom Shabbos Kodesh Haba Aleinu V'Al Kol Yisrael L'Toivan, that it should come to us and to all Bnei Yisrael for good. Shebakoidim, Kam Gol Pirte Inyanim, the Yerusha Sa'aret, that during that time we're actually reading all the details of inheriting the Israel. L'Zarecha Natati Sa'aretz Azois, to your children I gave this land. As a Keni, Kinizi, Kadmoni, that this is the Keni, Kinizi, and Kadmoni. Eser Umais, it's 10 nations. Yeshkan, right? Meaning it's 10 nations, right? Shebezem Geshe Shleimus Alicha. That through this we're going to be. It's emphasized the Shleimus, the completion of this going, right? Of Ramavin. That's when it's going to be completed. B'ma'amad u'matzav d'zman hazeh, and in the place where we find ourselves now, which is what? Eretz Sheva Umis, Avodas Hamochin, which is the land of 7 nations, which is Avodas Hamochin, l'ma'amad u'matzav d'la'atid lava, to the place of the future to come. Sheitasfu gam shloisha umis the Keni, Kinizi v'Kadmoni, that it will be addition of this 3 nation of the Keni, Kinizi, Kadmoni, which is Avodas Hamochin. Shahalicha zu, that this going, mitchila, from the beginning, naaseh kvar ata b'hoveh, that this going, it actually has to happen now. It's not something in the future. It's happening now. Take it from Miyad Mamish. Right? It should be immediately. And that's done through adding, learning Hasidus, but often the Rechavis Anar, in a way of abundance of the river, the widening of the river, right? Which we spoke above, and the Rebbe refers this to Mitteler Rebbe. V'od ikar, and more, and how much more so? Shal yidei zeh, that through this, memaharim zarzerim, right? That through this avoda, we are hastening and kind of like pushing, upalim, and affecting, takif, as a halicha, the chol bnei Yisrael yachad la'artzeinu ha'kedosha. This is fascinating that through this avoda we are enhancing this going of all bnei Yisrael to our holy land, as it says kal gadol, that it's going to be kal gadol. It's a huge amount of people. Loshan yachid, yashu v'hena. And the Rebbe emphasizes that it's spoken in the singular, right? That they're going to be returning here. Shemitoch simcha v'tuv levav, that it's going to be coming through simcha and through joy. Ve'ein hena ela loshan simcha, and there's nothing but joy. Ba'im kol bnei Yisrael arteinu ha'kedosha, all the Yidden are coming to Israel. Kafi shehi b'shlimusa, coming to Israel, in which way? When she's in her completion. What does this mean? Yarchiv Hashem lekecha es gulecha, that Hashem is going to widen your boundaries. V'lo rak eretz shiva umeis, and it's not going to be only the land of 7 nations, eretz eser umeis, but it's going to be the land of 10 nations. Ubefrotiyut yoser, right? And in more detail. Kivan, because since to your children I gave this land at Keni, Kinizi, Kadmoni, the Keni, Kinizi, and Kadmoni, v'es Kadmoni, Kinizi and Kadmoni, right? He haftacha mufureshes b'Torahseinu ha'kedosha. This is an explicit promise in our holy Torah. Sheyesh b'zeh ha'toikev, that has the power. The Dvar Hashem zu halacha, that the word of Hashem is halacha, right? Nasis kvar al pi haTorah, that's actually done according to the Torah. Hahalicha, which is the going. Hakshura im halacha, that right halicha, the word halicha, going, is connected with the word of halacha. Whatever makes that connection. Okay. La ma'amad u'matzav, the Yerushas Keni, Kinizi, Kadmoni, to this situation, right, of conquering, inheriting the Keni, Kinizi, and Kadmoni, meaning since it's mentioned in the Torah, it's already actualizing right now, and it gives the power. Shagam bezman hazeh, that also in our time, shashetach da'artzeinu ele, right, that this space where these nations are now occupied. I'm just wondering, where is that exactly? I know it's that there was 2.5 tribes started conquering that space. Right, it's Reuven, Menashe, Reuven, Gad, and Menashe. Sheishno b'kiyuma b'gashmius va'afilu b'chumrius. That these
the rabbis say it's Iraq, Iran, and Saudi Arabia.
Oh, amazing! So we're going to have enough space.
Well, no, but those places. Why do you think all the conflict was, the Gulf War in those places? For sure, Saudi Arabia. That's Iraq. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So the Rebbe says that she said that these nations are actually begashmius are there. Right, meaning that the nations of the 7 nations are no longer there, right? They no longer occupy Eretz Yisrael. But these 3 nations, they are there begashmias and also bechumrias, meaning they are really there. Okay, and that's how we conquer these nations. Who b'shleimus einam Yehudim, b'shlitas einam Yehudim, that these now are in possession of non-Jews, Shayachu la'avodas hamshel bnei Yisrael. Can you believe this? It's actually pertaining to the avodah of bnei Yisrael, meaning the fact that goyim now have those lands. It's shayach to the avodah of the bnei Yisrael. This is a very powerful statement to me. Ubifrat, al pi ha'yidua, and specifically, I want page 215, 252, we're almost done. And
I'm sorry, one
specifically,
second. Wait. So you're saying, perhaps the Rebbe is saying, just like
it's not
the first
perhaps, the
time,
Rebbe is saying it. It's not perhaps.
the Goyim had to have it first, and then we take it. And then the same thing with Keni, Kinizi, Kadmoni. They have to be there first, and then we take it.
No, that's not what the Rebbe is saying. The Rebbe is saying
Okay.
something different. It's the fact that Goyim are still there. It's because we're not doing what we're supposed to do with Avodas Hamochin.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, it says over here, behind the Shagam Bizman Hazeh, Shashetach de Artzais Eile, right? Sheishno b'kiyuma b'gashmius v'afilu b'chumrius. Why the Rebbe is making that b'chumrius? Yeah, because it's very coarse, right? It looks very coarse with everything what's going on in these nations. Hu shlitas einam Yehudim, hu b'shlitas einam Yehudim, shayach hu la'avodasum shel bnei Yisrael. It's shayach for the avodah of the Bnei Yisrael, meaning Bnei Yisrael will be going now, everybody together, and even one person, right, doing all this avodah of Avodas Hamochin, of concur and Keni, Kinizi, Kadmoni. We're going to weaken those nations just by doing this avodah. That's all.
Mila, with doing the Avoda, I know you emphasize many times that it's learning the Mitteler Rebbe's Hasidus.
I'm not emphasizing it. It's a Rebbe says this. It's not me.
No, but if we learn the Rebbe's Sichas, is that also Avodas Hamochin?
No, the Rebbe says here very clearly what Avodas Hamochin is. It's not only Hasidus. It has to be in the way of Rechavos Hanar, and where it mentions in the way of Rechavos Hanar, there's deep ideas of Hasidus. It's the Sicha. The Rebbe says it's by Mitteler Rebbe. It's a Rebbe's commanding his Hasidus to study Mitteler Rebbe.
But
it says it very clearly.
Learning Hasidus, b'chlal, like
no. Rebbe says here clearly, study Mitteler Rebbe, just like that. And the Rebbe says, and moreover, this is the reason why Mitteler Rebbe's work is being published mostly in Tafshin and Aleph, Tafshin and Beis.
But, okay, so it's all of the Mitteler Rebbe's work.
You see,
not just the Sicha.
we have a tendency, to separate Rebbeim. I don't know why, but this is like ridiculous. I'm sorry for using this word. We cannot separate Rebbeim. Starting from the Alter Rebbe. Alter Rebbe is the Chochma of our Rebbe. The Mitteler Rebbe is the Bina of our Rebbe. The Tzemach Tzedek is a Das of our Rebbe. I don't understand why Hasidim separate the Rebbeim. It's all one unity. And moreover, we see it with our Rebbe, that the Rebbe would not separate himself from the Frierdiker Rebbe. Like, it's just not. It's like when we do this as Hasidim, I think we're just causing Rebbe a pain. This is in my opinion. They're inseparable. We study Tanya, it's all one unit. So when I'm studying Mitteler Rebbe, it's not like, I'm like betraying my Rebbe and going to study Mitteler Rebbe. I don't know why there's such a notion. This is such moach enoshi. This is such a sechel enoshi perspective.
I didn't understand that.
Yeah, but it's not true. I'm not betraying the Rebbe by learning.
I think she's asking the question.
Yeah. No, I know where it's coming from. It's coming from the notion because many mashpim out there feel that there's no need to study Hasidus. So they guide people. There's no need to study anybody else. Everything is in the Rebbe's Sichos. I don't know if that's actually supported anywhere. The Rebbe himself says to study this, to study that, and all that. So the Rebbe's like just making us to feel good.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
when a person sits down to learn the Sicha, what do they hope to accomplish by learning the Sicha?
I don't want to go there. I don't know why. Everybody has their own things.
Okay.
They connecting, I think on a
then I
simple
gotta explain
level,
my point.
everybody connects to the Rebbe. That's what we do. We connect to the Rebbe. And people think that by us learning Tanya, we are betraying the Rebbe. We're learning
I'm bringing a totally different point. Never mind. Forget it. Forget about what I said. I'm trying to bring out a different point, but it's whatever.
No, so bring out. Let's go.
The Mitteler Rebbe, his focus is on teaching us who Hashem is and how he feels and how he thinks, etc., etc. Therefore, when we learn the Mitteler Rebbe's Hasidus, it gives us the ability to really know Hashem. I think the Likutei Sichos on the surface is more, still a little bit connected to really making you into a mensch, giving you a sense of your shlichus and giving you a sense of kind of what you should be doing in life and kind of more the focus on how to do your proper shlichus in life. I think that's my feeling when I learn sichas. You know, uvachein, we have to go out to the world. Uvachein, we have to have others. Uvachein, we have to take care of every Jew. Uvachein, you know, how to do your shlichus properly. The Rebbe's focus is how to do your shlichus properly. The Mitteler Rebbe's focus is on who is Hashem exactly? What is he really all about? It's two different emphases. That's just my thought. So
no, for sure. I mean, but whatever. It's the Rebbe says that we need to focus on Hashem, right? We need to focus on conquering those nations through expanding our awareness of Hashem. That's how we conquer these nations.
Therefore, it is helpful. Therefore, we focus on learning for that purpose, learning the Hasidus of the Mitteler Rebbe that get
right. But Saratova, it's not my conclusion. Do you understand? It's very essential, right? People think that like people have nothing else to do, and they just want to do philosophy. They just want to study deep stuff. And, you know, instead of going and smoking marijuana, they just go to Mitteler Rebbe's Hasidus. No, you know what? I actually had people tell this to me. That all what you want to do is just to get high. That's why you study Mitteler Rebbe's Hasidus. And I'm like,
but I don't have
no.
For all the donkeys in Lubavitch.
Here we go. And then we're talking about absolutely no. This is what the Rebbe says. It's nobody just was thinking out of nowhere, decided on their own without consulting the mashpia. You know how it looks like? You know, you're just like, al das atzmai. They decided, no. These Hasidim, they looked into this specific Sicha of the Rebbe, and they're like, oh, it's the Hayra of the Rebbe to go and study Mitteler Rebbe. It's not just like I have my shtick that I want to look cool and I, you know, want to just like remove myself from the world and getting high and all that.
But Mila,
no, but then they feed, but one second, Sartova, but then they feed this to people and people feel uncomfortable studying Mitteler Rebbe. It's becoming like it's a cult type of thing, and we are the real Hasidim, and we are going to be studying only, we are loyal to the Rebbe, and we're going to be studying only what the Rebbe's, the Rebbe's Torah, because we are the Hasidim of the Rebbe. And I'm thinking like, this is like so weird, because that's definitely not what the Rebbe wants. Because first of all, the Rebbe would, it's like.
But you can ask them a more basic question. What is the purpose of learning Hasidus? And most probably they're going to say to learn how to be a proper Hasid. To learn what you're supposed to do in the
What
life,
I'm trying to say is that when we understand the Rebbe.
Let me finish with this.
Yeah.
Wait, just let me finish with this. Do you understand? In other words, you're looking at people are still stuck in the Avoda is to learn how to be a good Chassid, and therefore you learn Likutei Sichos. If you ask them, do you learn Hasidus to get to know Hashem? They're like, we can't know Hashem. They don't only have trouble with learning the Mitteler Rebbe's Hasidus. They have trouble with why you would learn the Mitteler Rebbe's Hasidus. It's not your business to know Hashem. Your business is to know what gets done. That's it.
Listen, what I could tell you, people who really touched Ilana Dechai, people who really, and we're talking about even simple people, we're not talking about like this big minds or anything like that, nothing. Simple people like me and you could just like open and read, and the Hasidus touch the heart. They don't draw this type of conclusions. It's like, the Mitteler Rebbe says, whenever people study for other reasons, which we're not going to mention right here, right now, then then they miss the point. Anybody who tries to separate between the Rebbeim, making huge mistakes, because they are inseparable. And we see with the Rebbe, Mamash really going on Mesiras Nefesh, especially we saw that with this whole idea with Sfarim, right, with Heiteves. Like, under no circumstances the Rebbe wanted, and we saw how it was important for the Rebbe that there is no separation between the Rebbe. And anyway, going back to our discussion, this is mamish one of the sichas that, very surprising to many, many mashpiyim. Any time that I really want to show it to somebody, they don't know what to do with it, right? It's like already in Tafshinun base, it's the Rebbe specifically giving guidelines of what the Avoda of the Geula is, right? Because people really like to talk a lot about it, and it becomes like a very esoteric situation. Everybody for 30 years says, we have to bring Mashiach, we have to live Geula, and this whole pumping about it. But when it goes down to practical applications, what does this mean, right? What is it? Can you just tell me what to do? No, it's not a simple concept. You need to study, the Geula and Mashiach and all that, which is true. It's very important. But that's like a klal. What to do but prat? What are the details that we need to do? Right? There's only so much you could learn about Mashiach and Geula. There's only limited amounts of things that are written there, right? Okay, next. And that next step is always holding off. And people go more into klalim and more into klalim and more into klalim. And I find this to be just a very dangerous thing. Because truly, this sicha is really opening us up to understanding what specifically needs to be done, is to learning deep ideas in Hasidus. That's what's going to expand our borders. That's what Rebbe says. Kasher yarchiv Hashem okeches gulecha. This is what will expand our inner boundaries, inner borders that we have, is the study of deep ideas of Hasidus. Now, is it only glued to the Mitteler Rebbe? No. Learn Ayin Beis, Samach Vav. I don't know what you guys are going to be learning, but these are the, Samach the Samach, whatever it is. But just learn it and learn it in detail. Learn it thoroughly.
Mila, so I understand, you're saying that the Rebbeim are inseparable. Then why, again, is this specifically the Mitteler Rebbe's Hasidus?
I don't know. Ask the Rebbe. I say, because the Rebbe talks about it, that it has to be. Yeah, ask the Rebbe. I don't know why. The Rebbe says that the Mitteler Rebbe's teachings.
I can give you a little bit of an answer from Hasidus. When you're learning Parshas Vayetze, the Rebbe speaks about it. But Bina is the glue. Between Chachma, Bina, and Das, Bina is the glue that makes Chabad become Chabad. It's the glue between Chachma and Das. When you're going to take the wisdom of Hashem and you're going to actually make it yours in a way of Das, you can't really do it unless you have Bina in between. It is the glue that makes the whole thing, makes the godly wisdom come from above and it become internalized in you, so you are a walking example of that high godly wisdom. The
And
one
you're saying
who
that the Mitteler Rebbe is the one who does
Mitteler
that.
Rebbe, he is the one that glues
He says it's
two
Rochav
steps together.
Sanar. The Rochav of the Nar is referred as in a mashal a bina. Ma'ayan is the wellspring, right? And there's a beautiful story of the Alter Rebbe finding the wellspring with his brother when they were kids. You remember the story?
Right.
Okay, and that's yeah, exactly. And this is the beautiful, beautiful analogy. It's interesting, like the story is brought up, and I love the story because this is what Alter Rebbe did. Alter Rebbe opened up that wellspring of Hasidus Chabad, right? But Mesiras Nefesh, and we all know how the Tanya was written, and you could read it. That many authors who wrote, based on chronicles, what the situation was, and so the Mitteler Rebbe is like that width, where you take this ma'ayan and you expand on it, right? There's a rochav to it. And, we could talk a lot about it. Mitteler Rebbe received his portion of criticism from everybody. And Dafka, the Alter Rebbe, encouraged Mitteler Rebbe to do it specifically that way. It should not be copy-paste of how the Hasidus was taught by the Alter Rebbe. It had to go through this Rochav Sanar. And every Rebbe took it a step further into this whole seder of Ishtalshelus from Chachma until Rebbe, which is a Malchus, right? And the Rebbe is doing that final, jump. We've done this already, right? Of bringing all this knowledge into physical awareness. And this is a huge thing. And that's why in our generation, more than in any other generation, everybody is talking about somatic experiences. Why is it, right? Why all the goyim, all other meditations, all other healings, all trauma healings and all that, all of a sudden, all walk around somatic experiences? Because this is the weight of our generation, is to incorporate the body as much as possible. Because this is the time where now the body is going to nourish the soul. This is the time when we are revealing the essence in our body that's always had that. And that's where this flip is happening, that no longer the soul is nourishing our body, but our body is going to be nourishing the soul. Because its potential, what actually creates the body, which is the Atzmos U'Ma'oz, is going to be revealed. Because up until now, the body was just like this chomer, right? This gashmi and chumri. So now that changes once we change our perception and we welcome the godly perception, the godly awareness into all this. And this is done through studying the Mitteler Rebbe. And the Rebbe says, and that's specifically that's being published lachreina lately. That's exactly why it was somewhere on a shelf. And now the Rebbe decided that I'm going to be printing now the Mitteler Rebbe's work with the Biurim of Reb Hillel. He's actually instructed Kehas to print this book. So now let's just as Hasidim think, like, why in the world would the Rebbe spend this crucial funding on this piece of work if it was worthless? So Mitteler Rebbe's book could have been continued on a shelf for another hundreds of years, right? But the Rebbe said, no, we got to publish it. Not only publish it, we're going to publish Rabbi Hillel also. There's a direct directive to Kehas to publish this exactly the way it's being published now. So, we can't take these, these things for granted, specifically having such a sicha, out there.
And actually, you're saying the emphasis on the somatic, on the body, and yet we're saying that the Mitteler Rebbe is the one who emphasized the moichin. Why not emphasize like the Rebbe, one of the Rebbeim who emphasized doing ma'aseh?
Amazing. Because you see, We think in Golus. In Golus, Moichin and the body are separate. There is neck, right? In Geula, they're all one. Because in Kunshasai Spilus, he talks about these 5 levels of awareness. And he goes through every single level. When we are already on the level of Chachma, right? On the level of Atzilus, then there is no longer that separation where we are in the head and we're not in a body. There's no such a thing exists. The deeper ones goes into his boinanus and into awareness of godliness, the more it's going to be felt in the heart and in the body and in every particle of his being. There's no longer that separation. No, that separation happens when there is when a person is on a much lower level. But we as a generation, Rebbe says, we function differently. We don't have to worry staying in the head. There is no such a thing exists in our world unless we create that reality. Yeah, we could create it.
I'm saying through learning through the Meichin, we'll get through the somatic part.
Exactly. The deeper, because the light of Hashem travels in 2 directions at the same time. The deeper we go into something, the further we bring it down. Right? It happens all the time. How in the world you will understand something, and vice versa. The lower we want to bring something, the deeper we will start getting it, right? Teachers, when you are a teacher, you have to bring down to a very simple little kid, beautiful ideas. The more you're going to lower it down, you actually have to travel back into your moichin. You know how many times when I, really want to, discuss something with little kids, I really have to go back and relearn it. The question is, well, didn't you understand it? Yes, I understood it. But now that I need to teach it, I need to understand it better.
Sure.
So that same idea, that light travels both ways in the same time. It just goes like this. Shh. Right? Meaning, if I want to understand something deeper, right? It's in either direction I go. If I'm deepening my understanding into something, it's automatically going to affect my midas and my mice and all other stuff. Yeah, for some people think that you're going to be learning and you're going to be going deeper. It's true, but not true when it's referring to Hasidus, because Hasidus is not philosophy. Hasidus does things. Learning Hasidus cleanses the person, heals the person. Learning Hasidus makes people rich. The Rebbe says this right here, right in the Sikha. Didn't we just learn it? All what a person needs to do is to go deeper into Hasidus. And just by swifting his finger, he could earn his living. Baruch Haba. That's a very high statement. I didn't make it up, Peggy. It's here in the Sikha. Every time I learn it, every time I feel like, wow. And the Rebbe says, every Jew is b'shleimus, like atzmus umahus. That's a very, very big statement to make. And I didn't make it. It's the Rebbe makes it. Right? But people, for some reason, don't feel comfortable with the Sikha. So they put it on a shelf and they don't, it's not a big storm about the Sikha. For me, the Sikha is a very significant Sikha. In the Sikha, the Rebbe specifically tells every single Jew what to do. So every time I wonder, what should we do? We've done everything. What else should we do? We don't know what to do. I tell to myself, go deep into Hasidus. And you know what? It helps. Every time it helps. Because the more, the main ikar of our galus is that we lose this awareness of God. That's when things start not getting aligned properly. But if we align it to one reality, which is the reality of God, everything falls into places. Everything. And it's just doing one thing. It's the famous story, when a person wrote to the Rebbe and said he only has 1 hour. What should he learn? Nigla Hasidus. And the Rebbe said he should learn Hasidus. Why? Because by learning Hasidus, he'll discover that he has mוצאי. Okay, let's just finish up the Sicha. We're much over time. Okay, ubifrat al pi hayeduam, and specifically according to what is known, shegam bezman hagalus, that also in the time of the galus, shegalinu me'artzeinu, right, that we were sent to exile from our lands. Yesh l'chol echad ve'echad miYisrael chelek ba'aretz. Every single person, every single Jew has a portion in the land of Israel. Ama achas or dalit amas, either one ama or 4 amas, right? K'fi shematzinu ledina b'nagea lektivas prusbul ala karka, right? Whatever we learned about writing a prusbul on the piece of land. Shegam bezman hazeh, that even in our time, samchin ala chelek ba'aretz, we actually rely on the portion of our physical land, sheyesh lekol echad ve'echad miYisrael, that every single person, every single Jew has. Ve'yesh loymar, and we also have to say, shecheinu gam b'nagia le'eretz Keni, Kinizi v'Kadmoni, and we also have to say that it's also pertaining to the land of Keni, Kinizi v'Kadmoni, meaning even now, we have a portion of that land. And from this it is understood that conquering the world of the 10 nations who b'mazuman, right? The conquering of these 10 nations with cash. Okay, what's cash? Cash, it's a real thing. It's not, it's not credit. Cash is real, right? It's not debit, it's not credit. It's a hard piece of money, right? Even more than what it is now, right? Because now it's like a whole exchange for the actual gold. A real mezuman in the times of Tanakh, it's a real gold. It's real cash. Okay. V'tzarich rak, and what we need, shekol echad ve'echad yashit yadai, that every single person should stretch out his hands, v'yitel chelko ba'aretz, and he should pick up his portion in the land. And how do we do it? B'darkei noam v'darkei shalom, that it should be done in a pleasant and peaceful way. Sharei ba'oita hazman lo tiyeh, because at that time when we're going to be picking up our portion in the land, we're not going to have no hunger, no war, ki im shalom amiti, but a true peace, hein b'chaim apratim, in our personal life, b'hein, and also ba'alachas kama v'kama, and how much more so in our general life, meaning of extended life. V'yesh l'sayim, and we are going to be picking up karagil, as usual. Benetinas v'kabalas shlichus mitzvah l'tzedakah. We're going to continue with giving a shlichus mitzvahs of the tzedakah. Bifrat she'inyan hatzedakah mudgash b'siyum parshas hayom b'Torah v'yiten lo ma'aser mikol, right? And as it is said that, in the end of the parsha talks about, and he gave him ma'aser from all what he had, meaning Avraham Avinu. Okay. Ubevadai yosef v'yiten lekol echad ve'echad kefi nidvas liboy, that every single person should give according to what his heart desires. Ubeofen, and it should be in a way shenideves liboy tiyeh b'harchava, right? That his giving of his heart should be with abundance, right? Shal yidezeh yitofis b'zrizus b'archava b'havana v'asaga b'limut pnimis haTorah, that through the archava of giving tzedakah, it's going to be added the hastening and harchava and abundance in understanding and in grasping the learning of the Pnimis HaTorah, Barchava V'Havana V'Asaga B'Nigla the Torah, and also the revealed part of Torah. V'Alachat Kama V'Kama Barchava V'Havana V'Asaga the Kiyum Mitzvahs Ma'asiyos V'Poel, right? And an abundance of how we do the mitzvahs in actuality. Ubechol ze yemayer v'yirazes od yoser esa ma'ase v'poel di geula mitzvahs v'shlema al yidei Mashiach tzedkeinu. And through this, it should add and hasten and quicken the ma'ase v'poel of the geula mitzvahs v'shlema, which is our Mashiach. Oh, ben areinu v'zkineinu, right, with our young ones and with our elders, bevaneinu v'naseinu, with our girls and boys, beyachad im bate knesios, together with all the shuls, bate Torah, all the houses of Torah, or bate midrashes, and the houses of study, bate tefillah, and also the houses of prayer, or bate gemilas chasadim, and all the houses of the chesed, or masim toivim, and good deeds, shebachol olam kulei, in all the world, va'alachas kama v'kama, and how much more so, this house, based tefillah, b'toiro masim toivim, the glog dushas admur nasidarenu, the 770, right? Shu b'rashenu, that he is in our head. Okay, he kitzu v'nanu shachne offer, ubayim b'toch simcha, and we are coming with the simcha, v'tuv levav, la'artzeinu akdosha, to our holy land. B'sham gufal Yerushalayim irakodesh, and through this to Yerushalayim, our holy land, lahara kodesh, to the holy mountain. B'sham gufal Beis Hamikdash, and to our Beis Hamikdash, Migdash Hashem konenu yadecham. V'hu hayikar, take it from Yad Mamash. That's it. We're done. Okay, great. Any questions, dear ladies? You've been putting up with this for a while. It's 10:20. Please share your insight, what you're taking from this, and how would that apply to the river of change? We are all in.
So when it comes to any particular week, what should you learn? Dvar Malchus, Lekutei Sichas, or a minor? I don't know why I'm asking, because there's no answer. That's the truth.
I don't know. This is the questions. I have no idea. I don't think there's an answer to it.
But you said we have to learn the Mitteler Rebbe, something from the Mitteler Rebbe.
It's not that, you see, people like to take things like to extremes. It doesn't mean that we don't learn anything. All what we do is just, that's not what the Rebbe says.
I understand, but I thought the priority should be something from the Mitteler Rebbe right now.
It also should be from the Mitteler Rebbe. Yeah, sure. I think if people haven't studied, well, the Rebbe said about, our Rebbe said, about the Mitteler Rebbe, that Shara Yichud of the Mitteler Rebbe is like the key for Hasidus.
That's in English also, isn't it?
You don't want to study it in English.
Okay.
They try to.
I know Yiddish, now you know Hebrew. Okay, you're right.
No. It's like, it becomes very difficult.
Earlier, Mila, like, how does it apply to the river of change? I found with the river of change, I'm much more deliberate and being aware of what I'm doing, what I'm thinking, what I'm, my machshavidi, where my side. From what you were saying about studying the Mitteler Rebbe, it's just do it. Just read it, try, whatever. Hashem will help you. Just by doing it, you're already getting that bracha. It's not like you have to make this effort. That's the difference I see.
No, it also will help you with your effort. That's what I'm trying to say. It will help you with your effort, of your thoughts, of your feelings, because.
But I don't have to do anything. I don't have to try.
No, you just need to learn.
No, but can I say something? If we're not learning the Mitteler Rebbe's Hasidus, so why are we, the things you teach us in the River of Change, we attribute them to you. If we learn the Mitteler Rebbe's Hasidus, we start to understand them and acquire them from inside of ourselves, so that our instincts become transformed from inside and we didn't know how we got there. As opposed to you're giving us information that we're trying to put into practice, you know, based on all kinds of stuff. But this, you know, so we're taking it from the outside in when you tell us about this stuff and you say
100%, 100%. But you know what? You know why I do this? Very simple. Probably you'll forgive me. Is I'll tell you what it is. Every time I, Mitteler Rebbe is like, people, it becomes like, there's some kind of fear there. The reason why I did what I did in the River of Change is that I really wanted to simplify it and really give people just a taste of what it feels like. Once you get it, you could go for the real stuff. Does that make sense? Just go for it.
Yeah.
But you have the survival kit to know what to do, when to do, how to do, and how to, because you see, when you really want to go into the Mitteler Rebbe's and learn it and, start to applying it, you will feel that change. You will feel those waves coming. It's like, it's true that you could, go ahead and continue and figure this out. I think my experience of, I would love to have somebody who studied the Mitteler Rebbe, right? Came out on the other side, went maybe 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 times in and out, and would guide me what to do with the waves of inspiration, the pain, the suffering, and everything that comes your way when you start embracing this type of Avoda. Just guidance. I would appreciate it. Do you know what I mean? So if I would go through River of Change myself and then be ready to study the Mitteler Rebbe's Hasidus, I think I would love for myself that way, as opposed to doing it the way I did it. But it was Hashgacha Pratis. That's what we had, I specifically had to go through, and I appreciate it. But, I'm just trying to make whoever wants to embark this type of thing is a little bit easier. So at least you have some tools that you could apply right away before going through a few years of study and, them being born. You know what I mean? Although it's not limiting you. These tools are not limiting you. You could go ahead, study, and throw them out. You could get new tools. You don't have to get this specific. We're changing our phones all the time, right? Every 2 years, we get a new phone. Because there's always better and better and better operating systems. We don't have to feel like, no, we must use this computer that my mother bought me 20 years ago. It wouldn't even run by now, right?
Yeah.
It's just not, there's no need for that. It's just a tool. It's not my essence. My essence is unlimited. I'm using this tool and tomorrow I'll get another tool and I'll upgrade. No longer upgradable, throw it out, get a new one. Why do you think in the world we're getting this mushal? Because that's how it is in spirituality. You upgrade, no longer upgradable, get a new one, a new device, and a new device, and a new device. But we feel stuck sometimes with our operating system. No, it must be that way. No, it doesn't have to be that way. For that time, that's what it was. Now it's a new. Right?
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Okay. So as long as we're not getting...
Wait, I would like to hear, it's more interesting when people present their objections, then it goes deeper, but nobody wants to object, so.
Listen, we have a whole group.
You brought it up.
I don't have objections, I'm just saying.
Object, who is that? There's a new participant here that's said. Okay, so Tivi, object.
Yes. No, I'm just trying to stir everybody else
But
up.
if
as
you're
usual.
objecting it, bring evidence. I love it. Yeah, I'll tell you why. It sometimes feels like, like people start objecting because one rabbi said something or the other rebbitzin said something else. And I'm like, that's not objection. That's the opinion. You can't object an opinion, right? A true dispute is when you bring hardcore evidence of a Rebbe saying something, of another Rebbe saying something else, something like very concrete that we could read together and try to understand it. Because a lot of times when we work with this type of hardcore, written, printed materials, not just hearsay, a lot of times when we dig deeper and deeper, we'll understand that it was probably misunderstood. That's my experience. That even from our Rebbe, you'll find tons of information about this bonanus. Tons, countless. Just open the mafteach of Igros Kodesh and search for the word hisbonenus in the end. Right? Krach 20, you'll see. Right? All the way in the end. It's like the thickest volume. You'll see all the things that the Rebbe said. It's countless. It's like, it's only in letters. I'm sure they have this mafteach for siches. Now, Baruch Hashem, everything is online. You could find any subject that the Rebbe ever discussed, gave a mimer, sicha, or anything. And you will see how many times the Rebbe had mentioned the word hisboinanos and the importance of hisboinanos, etc., etc. But for some reason, people still feel, a little bit, some people, again, not everybody. And, mashpim may not necessarily be those who encourage people to do hisbonenus. I don't know why is that, but that just, what it is. I like to study things for myself. And Baruch Hashem, throughout my life, I had enormous amounts of support doing what I'm doing. And yeah, that's about it. Baruch Hashem. So what are we doing? That's it? We're finishing?
Sounds like it.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
Sure. And that's it. Bezrat Hashem will continue. As far as the river of change concerned, that's it. We're going to be moving to the second level. Those who are on the second level, we're probably going to be, not probably, we will be changing the setting, and I will post everything in our group. Bezrat Hashem. All right. Ladies, good night. Enjoy it, be happy, embrace it. Good night.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Baruch Hashem. Thank you, guys.